Hello everyone and welcome to By the Book with Gary Southshore RailCats manager Greg Tagert. By the Book is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Gary manager questions about the RailCats, baseball or sports in general, or just seek Greg's wisdom about life events that are going on. In this week's program, our very first in the series, Greg shares with us some insights about his team, talks about what it's like to manage in Gary Southshore, and tells us about a little hidden talent that he's got. So let's get right into our program. Well, we're going to welcome Greg Tagert here of the Gary Southshore RailCats in our first show here. So, Greg, we want to first of all want to begin with you by giving you some team updates that you might have for us.
Yeah, certainly. As far as our club goes, not too much on the injury front. Matt Hibbert, who unfortunately a little scary one last week, hit right above the cheekbone with a fastball that it knocked him out for a few days. But other than that, we've been relatively healthy. Still trying to recover. Rob, I think the last time we spoke, we were in St. Paul. Still trying to recover from that weekend a little bit with the bullpen and opening up like the Saints with a lot of games in a row. And it's one of the great things about this league, and it's something we love about it, and the players should love about it. It's a challenge, but you open up with 21 straight, and it certainly is something where you get a chance to assess your club.
Well, we're going to have fan questions starting next week, but this week we just wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to tell a little bit about yourself and what you're seeing for the team this season. So I know you're only 2 weeks into this year, but how are you assessing your team to this point?
Usually 2 weeks in, I think I've got a pretty good idea of some of our needs. But one of the things that this club, has experienced is a lot of turnover from the past 2 years and a lot of new faces. And I think we're both still getting to know each other from a manager to player personnel type situation, and to the players getting to know each other, to them getting to know how the manager and the coaching staff work. So, we're unfortunately the record indicates a team that is very average so far, and that is one of the things. We took a beating in St. Paul the first weekend, have recovered from it somewhat, but really just have not put together a string of consecutive games where we think we've played very well for a few games. There's a hiccup along the way, whether it's from the offensive side, defensive side, which is probably the most concerning. We've had too many miscues, both physically and mentally.
What has your thoughts been of the Central Division so far?
Yeah, we've only seen Sioux City and Kansas City. Sioux City, as I expected, disregard the little tough start that they had. They'll be right there. It's a good club, and the T-Bone's always going to have talent. It's one of the things that I've seen since I've been, in the Northern League, since we joined in 2005, and the T-Bones are always going to have talent. It's a great area for baseball over there. And we have not seen Lincoln other than spring training, but we've heard they play exceptionally well, and that pitching staff of theirs is going to be reckoned with.
You were talking about that you have a good idea of how your team is performing so far. So what are some areas you'd really like to see some improvement?
Well, certainly from that defensive side of things. We've done some games where we've been very good offensively and did some things that we like in a ball club here in Gary. We've got some ability to get some extra base hits. We've had a little bit of a surprising amount of power that I probably didn't expect. But from the defensive side of things, really it's been a club that's feeling its way out. And we've got good defenders at most positions, but we've seen some play that is a little bit reckless from time to time. And that's the biggest area where we need to straighten things out. And I think every manager is going to tell you, if they're not, they're very fortunate that from the pitching side, you'd like a little bit more consistent starting pitching in the bullpen.
When you come into a season, do you set goals for what you're looking for your team to accomplish?
Robin, and this can be very difficult on the team because of what we have accomplished in the past here in Gary and the success we've had since 2005. And the expectations of the manager, the owner, the fan base, everybody associated with the RailCats, and somewhat unfair to this group of players. As I said, none of these guys, for many parts knew what a RailCat was until they signed with us. But the expectation is the same as it is every year. It's the same one that Wichita has and the same one that Fargo has. The clubs that are used to competing at a high level, the expectation is to compete at a championship caliber. I think if you set your sights and you say, we've got to win a championship or nothing, you're going to be disappointed most times. But we expect to compete at that championship level, and we're going to continue to work towards that. And the players that come here, that can be a tough adjustment for those players, because they're coming here for their career. They're coming here, to reach their goals, and to place those expectations on those players. Maybe a little unfair, but we let it known right off the get-go.
You end your homestand with a pitcher tossing a no-hitter for you. Is that kind of tough as a manager to help that rides out?
It was a special night for the whole organization. The first one, I guess, in RailCat history, and a special night, obviously, for Carl Triana, who threw the no-hitter. It was an odd night because it was a 0-0 game going to the bottom of the ninth. So I don't know if it had quite the feel, although everybody was aware in the ballpark. The crowd embraced it, standing ovation for Carl as he left the field. But one of the things that it was tough to almost get a sense of it, because we still had to go out and try to win the game in the bottom of the ninth. But a special night for everybody. So,
what are things you really like about managing in Gary?
Rob, it's become really part of who I am, and certainly I love the managing side of things, and you and I have discussed this in the past. The job itself is a job that, for the right person, it's something to embrace, and I certainly love the job. But the time I've spent in Gary, and again, there's, whether it's Rick Forney, Kevin Hooper here in Wichita for so long, Doug Semitic, of course, the standard bearer in Fargo. The time that you spend in a place, you become part of that community, and that's really what I've embraced about it's I don't know if it's synonymous for my family and everybody. It's become part of who we are.
Is it a little tougher to get FanExcitement for the season when you're so close to Chicago and both those teams are doing so well?
No, I think that actually helps. And it's one of the things that I think, and I think that's one of the notion that somehow a major league team can take. It's a different product, of course. Everybody will tell you that. But we're fortunate in Gary that we've got our own media market. Northwest Indiana is not Chicago. It's it's its own market. We have two strong media outlets that cover us. The fan base has been in place there, and since the team started in 2002, and the stadium itself is just a gem. So all those things are in place. Our front office does a tremendous job, and I think when two teams are doing well, I think it's just the opposite. If those two teams, when they're not doing well, the excitement for baseball, maybe not quite so much. People look forward to the Bears or the Blackhawks finishing their hockey season. And I think right now that can only benefit every baseball fan and team.
How have you seen baseball change in your time?
Probably something as simple as seeing the Wingnuts walk off on the field in shorts and t-shirts for batting practice. Because that's one of those things that unfortunately just a byproduct of my age and when I grew up and baseball. But the one thing that has not changed that seemingly is players are no different. They love playing the game. I mean, certainly even the talk about analytics and things like that, I think it's only changed because it's talked about so much. And of course, as you know more than anybody, social media, those kind of things change things. But if you look back in history and you look at a person like Joe Morgan's stats, on base percentage, fielding percentage, all those things, it just wasn't put on paper in a mathematical equation. But the people that are running the game, there's been smart people all the time, and you can go back to all the people if you read the books and the Branch Rickies and the Connie Macks, smart people have been around all the game, changing and tinkering with some things to make it better. And again, I think the important thing right now is that there are more good players and good people in the game more than ever.
One of the things I think you can expect on the show during the season is people who will write in asking for your tips about how to improve their baseball skills. So what are some things you'd like to give to younger kids right now?
Probably one of the things that I have seen a decline in, and maybe it has so much to do with all the other things associated with becoming a good athlete, all the training methods. There seems to be just the simple game of playing catch is not as I guess happenstance as it used to be, and performed. I mean, we're a big believer. Our pitching coach Alan Keano, who is one of the best in this league and a rising star, talks about his bullpen relievers playing a perfect game of catch, and it is something that doesn't surprise me anymore, but something I've seen over the last 10 years is, there are so much training methods, so many different avenues, that sometimes I think some of those things get forgotten. So I would certainly, whether it's hitting off a batting tee, playing a perfect game of catch, those are the two things I would start with, regardless of whether you're 8 years old or 18.
To give fans a little opportunity to get to know you this season, what's a hidden talent that Greg Tagert has that people may want to know about?
Unfortunately, and my wife will tell you, there are none. No carpentry work, not a handyman with the cars, and whether it's good or bad, at a young age, my dad, we had moved from New Mexico, Carlsbad, New Mexico, not exactly a hotbed for Major League Baseball or any kind of market. Moved to the Bay Area when I was 5, and we took on an Oakland A's game, and I think right then, just like anybody will tell you, at some point in their life, it clicked. Fortunately or unfortunately, it clicked for me at 5, and my entire focus for the remainder of my life, other than my family, the hidden talent. I'm a very good grocery shopper, not a bad cook at home, and I can clean house with the best of them. So those talents my wife appreciates, but none of the helpful nature, and certainly none outside of the game of baseball.
In your time in baseball, I would figure that you have learned a great deal of wisdom over the years. So do you have a great word of wisdom to share to end the show?
One thing that I do see, and I see it at the major league level, and certainly I'm always dismayed when I hear comments, as great a player as some of the young players are, about the game being tired. It's just the opposite. More players are playing more than ever. Those statements that the game is tired are so false that I wish from everybody's standpoint they could see the game, how wonderful the game is, and more popular than ever at every level. It's just a bad notion that somehow it's not, that other kids are gearing away from the sport. The only wisdom is, from a team standpoint, we always just worry about the RailCats, and I certainly, that's what I prefer every club do, is just, think about what does their club the best, and then move forward.
Greg, thanks for joining us this week. We want to thank manager Greg Tagert for joining us on By the Book this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Gary Southshore manager, please send them to us at askgreg@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's askgreg@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Thursday evening so we can give the skipper a little time to review them before we record the show. I want to thank you for joining us this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next time on By the Book.